So hi everyone. So I'm the Mithun L K from the Department of Mathematics, Shubhodaya Pre-University College, Gubi. So hope you are all good in your homes. So today I am going to discuss about the basic form of a mathematical chapters and the chapters which are selected for the first PUC syllabus, as well as the marks allotted for the individual chapters. So I am going to discuss about the question paper pattern as well as the sample blueprint of our syllabus. Okay, the first chapter in our syllabus is going to be the first chapter, or I am going to write content. Content means the chapter's name here. So the part A in our question paper is allotted for 1 mark questions. So 1 mark question. So and part B, so allotted for 2 marks question. 2 marks question. And part C is for 3 marks. And part D is 5 marks question. Part D 5 marks question. And part E is for 10 marks. So this 10 marks is divided into 2 parts. Again, the 10 marks is divided into 2 parts. That is 6 marks question as well as the 4 marks question. Clear? So we have the chapters here. So first chapter is going to be sets. The first chapter is sets. So that's the first chapter in our syllabus. So in this chapter sets, we have 1 question in part A. Means part A ನಮಗೆ 1 marks question from sets ಇದೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. So ಈ 1 ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ number of questions allotted for 1 marks question in the chapter sets. Clear? So there will be 2 questions in a chapter sets allotted for 2 marks question. Part B is allotted for 2 marks questions. Part B ಅಲ್ಲಿ 2 marks question ಇರುವಂತ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ 2 marks ಇರುವಂತ part B ಅಲ್ಲಿ number of questions is going to be 2 is allotted for the chapter sets. Clear? So there will be 1 question in part C which is 3 marks questions. Again there will be no question for 5 marks and there will be no question in part E. Means there will be total number of marks is allotted for chapter sets is 1 marks question 1 question, 2 marks 2 question. Again part C 3 marks 1 question. There will be no question in 5 marks as well as 10 marks question. So 1 plus 4 5. So 5 plus 3 is going to be 8 marks. 8 marks is allotted in the chapter sets. Are you getting? So there will be 8 marks question in a chapter sets. And the second chapter is going to be relation and function. So relation and functions. That is the second chapter in your syllabus, relation and function. So this is a very important topic because the extension of this chapter we are going to study in the second PUC. So in this chapter we have 1 marks 1 question again. 1 mark 1 question. So we have 1 question which is allotted for 2 marks questions. So 1 question is allotted for 2 marks in a chapter relation and function, and there will be 1 question which is allotted for 3 marks question. There will be 1 question which is allotted for 3 marks questions here, and there will be 1 question for 5 marks also. 1 question for 5 marks also, and there will be no question which is allotted for 10 marks questions here. So then the total marks is 11. The total marks is allotted for the chapter relation and function is going to be 11. So observe ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, part A ಅಲ್ಲಿ 1 mark question ಇರುತ್ತದೆ. ಆ 1 marks questions ಅಲ್ಲಿ relation and function ಅನ್ನೋ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ we have 1 question, and in part B which is allotted for 2 marks questions. So in part B we have only 1 question for relation and function, as well as the part C we have 3 marks question There will be one question is allotted for relation function in 3 marks question, and we have one question from 5 marks questions which is allotted for the relation and function. So the third chapter is going to be, the third chapter is trigonometric function. Trigonometric functions. Trigonometric functions. I think you are familiar with this chapter, trigonometric function. You have already studied these basic concepts of trigonometric functions in your 10th class. So we are going to study the extension of trigonometric properties as well as formulas, as well as the theorems, as well as some more important problems which is appearing in your final examination. So this is going to be the third chapter. The chapter name is going to be trigonometric function. So again, we have one question which is allotted for 1 marks question from the chapter trigonometric function, and we have two questions which is allotted for 2 marks question, so that's going to be, so the two problems which are going to appear in the part B, that means 2 marks question. So again in part C we have 3 marks questions here. So in part C we have one question which is allotted for trigonometric function. We have again one 5 marks question, again one 6 marks here. One question yaudike 6 marks, because I have already mentioned that in a part E 10 marks questions are 10 mark again we have divided into 2 questions. One question is going to be for 6 marks and other question is going to be for 4 marks. The first question from the trigonometric function which is allotted for 6 marks in a part E. So then the total number of marks which is allotted for the chapter trigonometric functions is going to be 19 marks. One of the most important chapter among your syllabus is the trigonometric function, because it is allotted for 19 marks. 19 marks in your question paper. Means in part A we have only 1 mark. Again part B we have 2 questions. In a part C we have 1 question. Part D we have 1 question. Part E we have 1 question. Means ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟ್ರಿಗೊನೋಮೆಟ್ರಿ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ನ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇದ್ದೇ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ that's the important chapter in your syllabus. Clear? So the fourth chapter is principle of mathematical induction. Principle of mathematical induction. That is the very easiest chapter in your syllabus. So we have only one question which is allotted for 5 marks question. There will be no 1 marks question, there will be no 2 marks question, there will be no 3 marks question, there will be no 10 marks question. So only one question will be there which is allotted for 5 marks question. Means there is the important and an easiest chapter among your syllabus, and this is the basic for upcoming derivation. So in this principle of mathematical induction we are going to study a basic concept, how to derive an equation, how to derive problems, how to derive a formula. By using this method you can easily prove those type of problems or the theorem. So we have only the concept here, and by using that concept we have only one question which is allotted for 5 marks. Clear? So then the next chapter is going to be the 5th chapter. So 5th chapter is complex number and quadratic equation. Complex numbers. This is going to be numbers, complex numbers and quadratic equation quadratic equations. So you are familiar with the quadratic equations, and by using those functions, those type of formulas, we are going to study about the complex number. A new concept in your syllabus, that's the complex numbers, and you are familiar with the quadratic functions. Clear? So in this one, the new concept is the complex number. So when we are solving the basic chapters, we are going to study about those things. Okay? So number of questions and number of problems here. In part A, we have one question. Part A, we have one question from the complex number and quadratic equation. And part B, we have again one question. Part C, we have two questions. Means there will be two questions which are allotted for 3 marks questions in the chapter complex number and quadratic equation. There will be no marks allotted for 5 marks as well as 3 marks. Clear? Then the total marks is going to be 1 plus 2 is going to be 3. 3 plus 6 is going to be 9 marks. So total number of marks is allotted for the chapter complex number and quadratic equations is going to be 9 marks. Then the sixth chapter, linear inequalities. Linear inequalities. I think you are familiar with the graphs. How to write, how to derive, how to construct a graph, where is the x-axis, y-axis. I think you are familiar with those type of graphs. Means two-dimensional graph, which we have studied in the previous year or in class 7th, 9th, 10th, according to your CBSE board, according to your state board, according to ICSE board. I think these graphs are introduced in a class 6 or 7 only. Then we can find in the chapter linear inequalities, we have two questions, 92 questions. One is allotted for 3 marks questions and which is allotted for 5 marks question. So there will be no question which is allotted for 1 marks question, 2 marks question as well as 10 marks question. Means we have two problems which is attached to the graphs. ಎರಡು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ನಮಗೆ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ನಮಗೆ one of the major easiest concept which I have studied in the previous year. But in this year we have two questions which is allotted for graphs. That is going to be one question for 3 marks and 5 questions, means one question which is allotted for 5 marks questions and we have two graphs. Clear? So in this one 5 marks question we need to draw a graph. In this one we need to construct a number line. By using the number line we need to solve the inequalities. Okay? But in this one, in the part D which is allotted for 5 marks, in this one we need to find the inequalities as well as we need to draw a graph for that particular inequalities. Okay? So then the seventh chapter is permutation and combination. Permutation and combination. Permutation and combination. So these are the new concepts we are going to study in the class 7. So permutation and combination. By the name of combination we can say combination means ಒಂದು ಗುಂಪಿನ ಒಂದು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಒಂದು ಗುಂಪನ್ನ ನಾವು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಈ ನಾವು ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಗುಂಪಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಂಬರ್ಗಳು ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ಹೌ ದೀಸ್ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಅರೇಂಜ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದೋಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್, ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪರ್ಮ್ಯುಟೇಷನ್ ಓದ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಪರ್ಮ್ಯುಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಅಥವಾ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಇಂಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಈ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಗಳು ನಿಮಗೆ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದಂಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗ್ತವೆ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್? So in this part permutation and combination we have, so 1 marks, there will be one question which is allotted for 1 marks question and we have 3 marks question is going to be one question. There will be no 2 marks question here. So in a part A we have one question which is allotted for permutation and combination and one more thing. In a part C which is allotted for 3 marks, again we have one question. So in part D we have one question. Part D means for 5 marks question. So there will be no 10 marks question here. So just we have 9 marks question. So in this last one we have, I think, linear inequalities. So I made a mistake here. In part B we have one question. In part C there will be no question in linear inequalities. But In permutation combination, we have again part A we have one question. Part B there will be no question in permutation combination. In part C we have one question. In part D also we have one question. And there will be no question which is allotted for 10 marks question. ಗಮನ ಕೊಡಿ. ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಇ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಎರಡೇ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಎರಡೇ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ 10 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೌದಲ್ವಾ? ಆ 10 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಆ 10 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ again we have 2 parts. The first part is going to be for 6 marks and the second part is going to be for 4 marks. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಎರಡು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಆ ಎರಡು ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ 4 ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ 4 ಆಪ್ಷನ್ಗಳು ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಯಾವ್ಯಾವುದು? ಒಂದು 6 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಗೆ ಒಂದಾಗಿದೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 4 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 6 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 4 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್? ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಡೆರಿವೇಶನ್ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಡಿ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ಆಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಇ ನಾವು ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಡೆರಿವೇಶನ್ ಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. when we are solving these things, this mission part D and part E, the moreover things we are going to solve only the theorems, only the proofs. The proofs going to be solved in part E and part D. Clear? So then the 8th chapter is going to be 8th chapter binomial theorem. Binomial theorem. Binomial theorem. I think you are familiar with the monomials, polynomials, which you have studied in the class 10, 9 as well as 8. So in this one, binomial means, I think you people are know, the element is going to be 2, means a best example is going to be a plus b, which is containing 2 variables, a plus b. So by using those things, we are going to have a theorem. We are going to have a theorem which is related on binomial. So the number of marks and number of questions is allotted here. In a binomial theorem, there will be no 1 marks question, there will be no 2 marks question. In a binomial theorem, we have 1 3 marks question. So 1 3 marks question and 1 5 marks question. There will be no question which is allotted for 10 marks. So 1 question which is allotted for 3 marks and 1 question which is allotted for 5 marks. And the total number of marks is going to be 8 marks. So this is the easiest chapter among your syllabus. That is the binomial theorem. The number of questions is there will be only 2 questions in a binomial theorem. 1 question is allotted for 3 marks and another question is allotted for 5 marks. Then the total marks is going to be 8. Okay, just pause the video and note down these points. Okay, next one, the ninth chapter, sequence and series. Sequence and series. Sequence and series. This is the chapter which is extension of AP, GB, clear, and HP. HP now ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ harmonic progression. So in the class 10 or the class 9 itself, you people have learned about AP, arithmetic progression, as well as the geometric progression. By using those concepts, we are going to study the chapter sequence and series. Means in the class 10, you people have a knowledge of arithmetic progression, how to find the common fact, this one, common difference, and the first term and the last term, nth term and the tth term. So here we are going to study those applications of those arithmetic progression in sequence and series. Series means the combination of those one. The combination of which one? The combinations of arithmetic as well as geometric as well as harmonic progression. So in this chapter we are going to study those concepts mainly. So the number of questions and the number of marks allotted for the sequence and series is, in part A we have 1 marks question. Part A we have 1 marks question, and in part C we have 2 marks question. Part C there will be no 2 marks question in sequence and series, and in part C we have 2 marks question, and there will be 1 marks question which is allotted for in a last domain, that is for 4 marks. That is for 4 marks. In trigonometric function, I have mentioned that one question is allotted for 6 marks. But in a sequence series, we have one question which is allotted for 4 marks here. Means, ಯಾವುದೋ ಟ್ರಿಗ್ನೋಮೆಟ್ರಿ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ಸೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಆ ಎರಡು ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗಳ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ನಮಗೆ 10 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. Are you getting the point? Means one question is allotted for trigonometric function and this is the sub one is allotted for the sequence and series. That's going to be one question which is allotted for 4 marks. So then the total number of marks is allotted for the sequence and series is going to be 11 marks. Total 11 marks. Okay, because 3 2 is 6, 6 plus 4 10, 10 plus 1 is going to be 11. And the 10th chapter is straight lines. Straight lines. Straight lines. Straight lines. So I think you are familiar with the lines and angles. By using the concepts of lines and angles, we are going to study these concepts. Which one? The straight lines. And we have the formula for a straight line, the angle between the straight lines, the tangent forming a straight line. So these concepts we are mainly studied in the straight lines chapter. So we have number of marks is the total number of marks is allotted for straight line is 10 marks, and the number of questions is going to be, we have one question which is allotted for straight line in 1 marks question, and we have two questions which is allotted for 2 marks in a chapter straight lines, and we have there will be no questions which is allotted for 3 marks, and there will be one question which is allotted for 5 marks, and there will be no question which is allotted for 10 marks, and the total number of marks is 10 marks. 10 marks from the chapter straight lines. So 1 marks 1 question irtade, 2 marks alli 2 question irtade, part C 3 marks alli there will be no questions. In a part D which is allotted for 5 marks, we have one question in a chapter straight lines, and there will be no question which is allotted for 5 marks. Then the total number of marks is going to be 10 marks. So the 11th chapter is conic section. Conic section. Conic section. So in the class 10th, because see in mathematics we must have steps. Every steps is important. So these mainly these chapters are completely depend upon the previous year concepts or in the last year syllabus. So by using those concepts, by using those knowledge, we are going to study the upcoming chapters. Means in the class 11, the complete chapters is depend upon the class 10. And in the class 12 means in the second PUC, the first year syllabus is widely we are going to use. Means the first year concepts is so important so that we can study the second PUC syllabus. So in the conic section, the word conic is completely defined for circles, parabola, hyperbola, ellipse, these concepts. So by using that equations, and we are going to find an equation and an angle between those concepts, or angle between those conic sections, we are going to study in the chapter conic section. This is a very important chapter and one of the easiest chapter in our syllabus. We have the derivative equation and we have direct formula. So we are going to solve by using those formula. So the things are clear in this chapter. Clear? So then in the conic section we have only 2 questions, which is for part C 1 marks question, and one question is allotted for 10 marks, means 6 marks question. So there will be no 5 marks question, there will be no 2 marks question, there will be no 1 marks question in conic section. The total number of marks is going to be 9, because 6 in part E and one question is from 3 marks question. So 6 plus D is going to be 9 marks. So 12th question is introduction to 3D geometry. Introduction to 3D geometry. So these are new concepts. Means I think you are familiar with the geometry. Two-dimensional geometry means an angle, a line. These are the concepts. Circle. These are the concepts for a two-dimensional geometry. So in this one we are going to study about three dimensions. Suppose take an example. You are drawing a graph in a paper, drawing on a paper. So you are going to find an x-axis as well as a y-axis. ಒಂದು ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅಲಾಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, so we are going to find a two axis. One axis is going to be an x-axis and another axis is going to be an y-axis. But when you are studying about the three-dimensional geometry, we have another axis. That axis is going to be z-axis. Means suppose best example for 3D means space. Space. Are you getting? So we have observe here like this. So right hand thumb rule, are you familiar with the Fleming's right hand thumb rule or the left hand thumb rule? So this is going to be x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. Clear? Suppose if you are arrange this one, we need to allot a point here, which is also belongs to x-axis, which is also belongs to y-axis, and which is also belongs to an z-axis. Similarly, so by using this one, an angle between a line which is allotted in a space, an angle between two lines, an angle between three lines, an axis, a point which is allotted for only two-dimensional here, means an axis in yz plane, xz plane. So these concepts we are going to study in the chapter Introduction to Three-Dimensional Geometry. And the number of problems and the number of concepts allotted in the chapter 12 is one question from 2 marks. There will be no question from 1 mark questions here. So and there will be one question which is allotted for 5 marks. There will be no 3 marks. There will be no 10 marks question. So only the 7 marks question in Introduction to 3D Geometry. So in that one, the part D, you have one derivation. So it is going to be a derivation. So derivation of space, derivation of point, and this is going to be a problem. I think you are familiar with the distance formula. So by using that one, we are going to find a 2 marks problem here. So the 2 mark problem ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಟು 3D ಡೈಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಜಾಮೆಟ್ರಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ 10th ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ನೋಡಿದ್ರಿ, ರೂಟ್ ಆಫ್ a x2 - x1 whole square plus ರೂಟ್ ಆಫ್ 5 - 5 whole square. ಸೊ ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಗೆ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಇಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಬಿ ರೂಟ್ ಆಫ್ x2 - x1 whole square plus y2 - y1 whole square plus z2 - z1 whole square. By using that one, we are going to solve here. So next one is limits and derivatives. So very important chapter. That chapter is limits and derivatives. Limits and derivatives. So one of the basic chapter from the second PUC syllabus. So from this chapter, limits and derivative. So this is the basic step for the limits and derivatives as well as the continuity as well as the integrals. These chapters we are going to study in class 12th. Class 12th ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಗಳಿಗೆ ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವುದು ಲಿಮಿಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡೆರಿವೇಟಿವ್ಸ್. ದಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ which is allotted for at least 65 to 70 marks in a class 12th. ಸೊ ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಬೇಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ PUC ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ 65 to 75 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ನಮಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್? ಸೊ here in this one, in the first year syllabus also we have a wide range of the limits and derivatives, and very important chapter which is already familiar with trigonometry function. So we are going to use those trigonometry functions, trigonometry ratios in this one. We are going to use those concepts, those trigonometric functions, those trigonometric ratios. We are going to use the derivatives. Clear? So one of the important concepts. So in 13th chapter, we have 1 marks 1 question, 2 marks 1 question, 2 marks 1 question, 3 marks 1 question, 5 marks 1 question, as well as 4 marks 1 question. 4 marks 1 question, which is allotted for 15 marks. 15 marks. One of the important chapters among your syllabus. The first important is going to be trigonometric function, and the second important chapter is going to be this one, mathematical reasoning. Mathematical reasoning. So easiest chapter in your syllabus. That's the only. I think you are familiar with the reasoning. I think you are familiar with the physics, chemistry, and biological words. I think give me the reasons. Those type of problems in mathematics. So we have x plus x is equal to 2x. Why? Give me reason. So this type of concept we are going to find, or we are going to solve, or we are going to find a solution for those type of problems in mathematical reasoning. So this is the easiest chapter in this level. That's the 1 marks 1 question, and we have 2 marks 1 question, again 3 marks 1 question. The total number of marks is 6 marks. There will be no 5 marks. There will be no 10 marks. There will be no 5 marks question here. So we have 6 marks. So these 6 marks are free hit marks according to cricket. So the mathematical induction, the 6 marks is a free hit 6, because if you are familiar or if you are knowledge of obtaining the reasoning, so we are giving at least 4 marks in the easiest way. So 6 marks is going to be a free hit marks for your final examination. And the 15th chapter statistics. This is the I think in the ninth itself people are studying about the mean, median, mode, and by using this one you are going to find in the extension of those things, extension of the mean, median, mode, we are going to solve those type of problems, those type of functions in statistics, and that's the mainly depend upon the calculation part here. ಎಷ್ಟು ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದಾಗ್ತದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಟ್ ಈ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಮೀನು ಮತ್ತು ಮೋಡು, ಮೀಡಿಯನ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು. ವಿತೌಟ್ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಮೀನ್, ಮೀಡಿಯನ್, ಮೋಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾಸ್ as well as the definition of those things. So this is an important chapter. We have only 2 questions here. In a part B we have 1 question. In a part D we have 1 question. There will be no question which is allotted for 1 marks question here, as well as there will be no question in 3 marks. There will be no question in which one? Part E. The total number of marks is going to be 7 marks. And the final chapter and the last chapter is probability. One of my favorite topic, probability. So in this probability we have 9 marks total. There will be 9 marks questions. So 1 marks is in 1 marks question, 1 question into 1 mark. So there will be 1 question which is allotted for 2 marks. There will be 2 questions which is allotted for 3 marks question. And there will be no question which is allotted for part D as well as in part E. So total there are 150 marks. We need to answer only for 100 marks. Okay. Thank you for watching this video and stay tuned.